T-minus 10 minutes and counting.
somebody that's already dead. How are we going to kill somebody that's already dead? It's because of men like you that all must be destroyed. It's because of men like you that all must be destroyed. At least not by anyone who still remains alive.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's see if the audio wants to work today. Hi. Well, I see my audio looks like it's working. Let's see if Jeff is working. There's two Jeffs on there, and that's it.
Nope. That's the right number. That's the right number of Jeffs to have. At least two.
All right, we don't need anybody else then.
Just put your hand. I want to see if there's a delay. Yeah, there's lag between the two Jeffs. So it's Jeff and Jeff's evil twin.
That's even better.
Oh, no.
I'm loving this.
But which one is which?
Who can tell? Let's see here. Let's change that.
The evil Jeff is the one who says he's not the evil Jeff.
Yeah.
The problem is I think we're both evil.
I think you might be right.
I think, yeah, the evil Jeff probably spells his name Geoff and wants to be called Geoff. So,
Morality is a human construct.
dude, that's up there with Topher, which, Topher. Yeah.
Just grow a soul patch and get a douche shirt.
Yeah. That was, yeah, What We Do in the Shadows. They brought that guy back, the Sixth Sense kid. He plays that character, Topher. I forget what episode.
Haley Joel Osment?
As soon as I saw that, I was like, that is such a perfect use of that name. And I'm hopefully not offending a ton of people who prefer to be called Topher, but come on. Chris.
Dozens of them.
So we still have two Jeffs, and we don't have any Justin.
I know, I'm working on it. Jeez.
Okay.
Welcome to our TV show where we just have technical difficulties.
So what's happening is we're in an inception loop, so I had a dream, and then the dream inside the dream, and then tangents.
That's how that worked. Same here.
Where's your top?
Man, what were you?
He was upstairs.
What were you doing? Desert out there, Christoph. Snacking on the local cacti out there, dude. Like, it's pretty heavy.
Man.
If they have lickable frogs in the desert, is that?
I hope so.
I think that's
part of it.
So I saw a slug, and it was like, hey, this is probably a concentrated mushroom. So I ate the slug, and now it's just bug.
Aw.
Yeah,
There we go. Everybody's here now.
And Bad Seed's here. The game's all
Yay.
together.
That's awesome. Bad Seed's here.
John Haynes for
The great Benjamin Netanyahu is on board with us as well. Always a pleasure to have the former Israeli Prime Minister joining us.
Former Israeli commander.
Yes, indeed. Many, many things to many, many people. The Bauhaus shirt is appreciated, Justin. Anybody else have any creative T-shirts on?
I decided to wear a plain black one for a change.
I've got my old school Apple T-shirt.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm sneaky.
I didn't even see that, Andrew.
And I tried to show solidarity with Justin and Chicago.
There you go.
Wow.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, welcome to Tangents, the only show on the internet that talks about music, technology, and production and stuff like that. Also known as the show that you watch if you don't like watching a bunch of British guys talk about the same thing earlier in the day. I'm Andrew. I am from Ick Studios here in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, where it's actually a lovely fall day today. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah. What's been going on here, folks? Let's take a look. Christoph, where are you?
So I'm at my friend
Happy birthday,
Jen's
Jen.
for her birthday. I'll be back at Spike Club Studios for the next Tangents. But yeah, Tangents often falls on the same days of other things. But I'm glad I could make it, and you didn't have to go to your lovely guest cell.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And going on with me, I'm DJing at Stimulate this Saturday in New York City.
Stimulate. Congratulations on returning to real life.
Yeah. And last Friday, I got my third booster, and I can confirm it does make you considerably
I can confirm that as
handsome.
well because I got my booster yesterday, and look how much more beautiful I am already. As do you, my friend.
Fabulous.
At least the top row is gorgeous.
Thank you.
I can't help it. It's beyond the help of a booster. But I do.
Get a haircut,
you
you hippie.
I do get a haircut.
Okay. Well, excellent. I'm glad you're here as always, Christoph. Jeff. There's too many J's below us. That's the problem, Christoph. We'll go with Jeff here because he's right below me. He's sitting on my lap here. I'll look down like that.
I am.
Jeff, what's going on with you, buddy?
I want to be the second.
Just hanging out
That's
here
what
on
I
your
hear.
lap.
Let's see what
It's
comes
a good
up.
place to hang out. Let's see what happened here. I got everything hooked up in my studio, fully hooked up, and everything is working for the first time in like a year.
But there's a
that's
problem.
exciting.
Well, you're too far away from the
What is
404,
it?
so you have to do the ba-dum chick with your hands instead of actually pushing the button. Our sound effect
I
guy,
know,
you're fired,
but-
dude. Tune in next show.
Well, for the replacement sound guy, I did order the Mark II SP404, so it will be in soon, I hope. And the Mark I is going to move right over here to the desk to become
Perfect.
just a soundboard. And so it will just live on forever as an absurd noisemaker, as opposed to the Mark II, which will be used to produce very
Fart
high
noises.
class. I mean, obviously, yes. And also some really like world-changing music, maybe something like some generic lo-fi hip-hop or something. No, but that's
looks good.
Got everything set up.
It
It's
looks
good.
really
Feels
good,
good
sir.
to have it all working. Thank you.
I am impressed as always, especially with your crazy Max Headroom visuals there behind you, too. I feel like I'm 20 minutes into the future.
The Critter and Guitari Izzy paired with the cheapest projector you can order direct from China off of Amazon
Excellent.
is A-OK.
I love it. Very good. Well, it's good to have you on as well, as always. Hey.
It's good to be here.
But finally, last but never least, Justin, how are you? I should look down. There we go.
I'm well. I'm
Wellish.
wellish.
You're Welsh.
Yes. No, I'm good. Yeah, not to be confused with the Kenrig. No, I'm good. Sort of in a
Excellent.
chill mood lately. Enjoying starting a new collab
Yeah.
with you, which has been fun. Dusting off some of the MPC1 stuff. Yeah. Not a whole lot going
Well,
on
I'm
otherwise.
glad that you're
But
here,
good.
as always. Folks, you need to check out Justin's new album that just came out on X Studios under the name of Still Planet, and that is over at xstudios.net. Go and buy it. Someone bought it today that I don't know who they were. They got it off of SenseNet's apparently shares thing on her Bandcamp. So that was cool. Thanks, SenseNet. You're not watching, but just in case. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you.
But folks have been
Appreciate
digging it.
it.
They've been coming back to me and saying that they really like it. So keep kicking ass.
Well,
That is a really good feeling when somebody
Right?
buys music and you don't know who it is. It's a very good feeling.
for sure.
My mother.
Your mother and this guy who says he's my father, but I don't know him. Yeah. So we have a lot to talk about as far as our music news is today. I was kind of nervous that we weren't going to have anything and we would just have to ramble on like we normally do, but we actually have a pretty good amount of stuff going on. I'm getting distracted by Bad Seed's amazing ability of making ASCII art at high speeds. That's crazy. Anyway,
Nice.
stop distracting me. I'm easily distracted.
I'm gonna do the whole
Right, I
Star
love
Wars
that
Legacy
stuff.
and SDR for you. There.
I should say what's been going on with me. I
good stuff.
did last weekend was the Synth Fest, where I did a Dune encrusted themed show, music wise, where it was just basically a remix of Toto's theme from Dune, which is just an epic piece of music right there, and a lot of samples of Dune played over it, and that was pretty much it. I wasn't really feeling that creative, and I also realized that I had my compressor turned up so high that whenever any low hit, everything just dropped in volume by like 50%. So I kind of failed at that one.
I
Man,
enjoyed
thank
the
you.
stream. I thought it was good.
you could have.
Oh yeah, it's up on our
for anyone
YouTube
who
channel,
missed
which
it.
will be coming around in the robot we'll be talking about. That I just realized that the robot's also saying it's still Synthfest, so I need to go turn that off real quick. So anything else that's going on, working on collaborations, and all of us decided just this week that we're going to start the Tangents House Band. And we're going to start doing goofy stuff with that, including like the love theme from Tangents. I'm hoping we'll do that.
Yeah. I call Zorak.
Animal.
I get to be Space
Nice.
Ghost.
Yeah. So it's Moltar or Brack, your choice, Jeff.
What a choice.
Oh, I meant Animal from the Muppets. It doesn't all have to be from Space Ghost.
Oh, gotcha.
This is
Oh,
a
look at that.
crossover
That's
episode.
clever.
I like.
Oh my God. Yeah. So we're going to be doing that. It'll be the four of us, and Toto Robin will be joining us as well. And we're going to figure out how to make this all work and collaborate. So I think that either Christoph and Robin needs to get NPC ones, or Justin and Christoph need to get deluges.
Oh my god.
You're getting a wave file. Deal with it.
Yeah. I think we could do this whole thing in GarageBand. Oh, I'm sorry.
We can use Logic. Oh. Yeah.
I mean, Robin doesn't use a
Actually,
DAW
you
at
know,
all, so
you're right.
oh.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wave files it is. So you.
It'll just be me and Justin using our curse files.
Yeah.
Rob and I will use our circuits. I know this is going to be a
This is
great
gonna be
idea.
terrible. I look forward to this.
Can't wait.
No,
Honestly, we should just all do it in
There you go.
caustic.
Totally.
there you go.
What was that? Someone's microwave just go off?
That was weird.
That was me.
Oh,
Somebody
that's-
didn't use their phone.
No.
I'm not going to name names. But maybe of the Mohawk persuasion.
That was some like
I know, right? That was
number
pretty
station
impressive.
sounding radio sound.
Well, you know what it is? So, because of the kind of nerds that we are, of course I made my own sounds
Of course.
for my phone notifications.
Yes.
John Haynes thinks that we need to do the house band from an episode of Conan and again get Conan to do this show. Do you mean Conan O'Brien or Conan the Barbarian? Because I'm leaning more toward the Barbarian or the Librarian.
I know.
Its enemies, to see them driven before you and hear the
Exactly.
lamentations of the women.
It took me until you said Conan O'Brien and there to realize that there was another Conan other than Barian. Oops.
I'm kind of down
Yeah,
for
you
either,
know.
really. Whatever.
And John Haynes says Conan O'Brien dress as Conan the Barbarian.
Would be
We could.
fantastic.
I think that's actually going to have to be the shtick of the Tangents House Band. Is
Like
we're all going to
different
have to
Conans?
dress like Conan. Is this like Guar? There's only the one. It's just one. I don't know. What is that thing? A bear? A
think so.
loincloth or something?
Well, I'm only going to dress as Naked Conan.
Yeah, I mean, I just grow the
Yeah.
pubes longer.
You can't do that on Twitch though. We're gonna have to. We're gonna.
You
have to
also
change
can't hang out
streaming
in
services.
hot tubs on Twitch too.
I didn't know that, but okay.
Like for Twitch, I don't hang out in hot
Wait,
tubs.
did they stop that?
Yeah.
You can't do the hot tubs on Twitch anymore?
Ah,
I guess
Because it
so.
was too damn popular?
Oh yeah, two service problems for nipples.
Well, now I got to change my whole idea
Sorry,
for
no
tomorrow's
hot
Fight
tubs,
Club.
just nipples. You put
You know-
electrical tape over them.
You,
what if it's cold?
okay, you just gotta love the U.S. where like it's okay for kids to watch cartoon violence at ridiculously high levels, but you know, God forbid adults see
I know.
some nudity for like 5
Burn
seconds.
our eyes out, Puritans.
If you, yeah, we have a little bit of that going on. still.
Anyway, let's talk about some music news. We've talked enough about nipples and hot tubs and Conan. Enough. I know, right? Enough tangents.
Let's talk about synths.
All right, kids. First piece of news here is the Martinic AX73. Do you remember back in the day the Akai AX synthesizer? Me either.
No.
No, I wish I did.
Do you know how I found it?
I've read about it, but
I
I don't
found it.
remember it. I don't know anybody that had one.
So I found one in Craigslist. I used to look in Craigslist for Synth Deals like many years ago because you would find crazy stuff, right? Like Staysdales. And there was a dude in Columbus, Ohio, selling this thing. Or actually, was it the AX80? There was some other model. And I'd never heard. I didn't even know they made one since. Literally had no idea.
Well, Martinic made the AX73, so you can get this beloved, well-known synthesizer, which none of us can remember, as a VST, as a virtual instrument. But it does so much more. Lustration links, thank you for redeeming Resonate. Unfortunately, I don't have a synthesizer to resonate with, so I'll just do this. Okay, there you go. Forgot to turn that stuff off too, huh? So yeah, basically what this thing does is it is a beautiful emulation of both the AX73 and the AX60 and the AX80. So there you go, Justin has both of them in there. I know, try reading the fucking article once in a while.
Huh? Sorry about that.
Says the guy who's currently just reading the article now.
No,
I mean, I prepared.
To know this synthesizer, and I looked this synthesizer up, and I listened to things made by this synthesizer, and the only thing I could think of was, wow, this is a very adequate synthesizer that synthesizes noises. Why would anyone go to the effort of turning this into a VST?
All right,
Yes.
so I have one idea. They run out of synths to emulate.
There's just no more sense.
At this point, I'm like, oh, wow, another Juno clone. So it's not another Juno clone, and nobody can make a proper emulation of a Jupiter 8. So like, all right, let's do this one. And if it's not accurate, no one will know.
You should make a VST called Not Another Juno Clone.
Like, as far as you know, this is the best clone ever of the AX73. Well, it's the only clone, but like, oh, it's so perfect. You could totally sell that.
Well, it also gives you 24 voices instead of 6, which is what the
the
original AX73 does. And then it also gives you 2 independent layers too.
So it has better, so it has better specs. What I will say though is like I remember like I've been scouring used synth ads for old enough to drink, and I remember seeing this always listed as one of those synths, but I never knew anybody that wanted it, or I don't know anybody who used it. But yeah, I mean it's an analog synth. You can FM the oscillators. It has a 24 dB slope. I'm sure, if you program it well, and I'm sure, a lot of people didn't, but if you program it well, it's probably capable, unlike the Novation X Station 25. But yeah, I mean, is this a synth that the world is clamoring for? No. But are these the only ones doing this synth? Yes. And maybe this is what gets them attention. Whereas Cherry Audio is just going to release another synth that somebody else emulated the week before.
We should reach out to this guy and be like, what synth you should really make? You should do a combo job of the Akai Timberwolf and Rimwolf. Just like a twofer, and just put them together in one VST. It would actually probably get so much attention because of how bad they are.
But maybe the synths we deserve.
Yeah, for sure. That's what we deserve.
Well, now there's to be rolling in his fat AX73 money.
That's
true. He's going to have time to work on that.
So yeah, this is the beautiful AX73 by Martinic. It's going for about $55 right now. It usually goes for $100. So jump in on that if you need a perfectly average VST synthesizer. The one that your DAW didn't come with.
I was just thinking this looks like a synth that used to come with cable.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. So speaking of things that we actually did need, Roland has released the SP404 Mark II. In case you have not noticed it by every single YouTube influencer posting a video of it at the same time. Tune in for
Jeff's chair just got slippery. Jeff's chair just got slippery.
I know.
He's
I heard him
excited
sploosh
about
from
this.
here.
It's very good.
Well, I was
He
setting
just
up for the
got-
show tonight. I had Actitect playing in the background, which is always lovely, but I also did have Loopop's walkthrough of the SP404 Mark II playing as well. because I like living a life of confusion, and no one confuses you like Loopop can. And
Yeah.
and I have to say,
Yeah, that's
I am a patron
No.
of Loopop, so full disclosure.
Yeah.
Makes very good
No, I
videos.
love his
don't
videos.
think they're
Actually, I
that
think he's really
confusing.
good at
Well,
clarifying a lot of things.
Yeah, I watch the
Yep.
Accurate Beats or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his channel but yeah, his walkthrough was pretty cool. He's more of a demo
yeah.
guy, which I appreciate. Because sometimes I want to know under the hood, and sometimes I just want to hear it.
I get you
Yeah.
completely. So the SP404 Mark II has a lovely new screen on it, which is nice instead of just the numbers. It's got it's got 17 expressive pads. It's got new knobs. It's got all kinds of crazy shit. It does not have a built-in microphone anymore. I don't know if that's a deal breaker. I have to say the screen interface looks awfully electronish to me. Even the font looks rather the same. You can do all your sample editing on there with a little screen, little OLED. You've got 2 different types of effects banks, I think it is. I think you have both a insert as well as a bus. Yeah,
There's
bus
a
and a final.
bus, yeah.
It's got the award-winning Roland adequate sequencer.
It looks like the sequencer on this one's definitely better than the SX and the A, though.
Yeah, I hear that.
But I don't know who's using the sequencer on an SP404 anyway.
I don't know. I mean, there are people that iconically, like you said, use it for lo-fi, and it's kind of part of that otaku lo-fi sort of. They know who their audience is, and so looking at their splash screen, their main screen for the product, and oh boy, do they know who their audience is, and they really are targeting it, which is actually sensible for Roland. Yeah, no, that's sensible, because sometimes I feel like they're making tools for people that don't care.
I mean, I saw.
This is the most exciting thing from them in a long time, I think.
It's the exact opposite of Microsoft and Apple's strategies.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually an interesting thing that Roland put out. And I'm always going to shit on Roland a lot. But this one's actually they actually did something and they improved on it, as opposed to they just put out the same fucking thing again, but made it smaller and more difficult to use.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is really cool. My first introduction to the 404 was watching Ricky Tynes playing it at Moogfest. They had this whole little gig of just the people that were working the booths, and they would just had 5 minutes at a bar per person, and they would just sit there with whatever piece of gear they could fit on a bar stool and play it. And he just busted out the 404 and just started going crazy with it, and it was great. Yeah,
was that the micro
machines.
set he did? Yeah, micro machines. Yeah,
Yep.
was that at that?
Yeah,
barcade? I don't
you
think I went
to
to that show. Yeah.
Yep, bedtime happens. So I went up to
man.
that, and it was really cool. And the 1 2 guys were a lot of them were just ending up using 404s. It was the main thing, except for Cuckoo, of course, had to use the OPZ. But
it's one of those things where I have these sort of fantasies that if it's not really a desert island fantasy, it's more like what if I had to get rid of everything I own and just lock into one universe? Because something like that would be very appealing again. Although on the other hand, I don't know if it's really tenable. But this is the kind of thing where maybe if I was on vacation for a week or 2 somewhere, take something like this and just dork around with it, have fun.
Yeah, I really like the 404 a lot, and I think it's funny because I have read people who've gotten them who've been really disappointed by them. And if you look at the specs of it, I think the tech specs on it do not make it look like it's a powerful thing, but they call it. I don't know whether I read too much into this, but they've called it a linear wave sampler. That's what they've always deemed this thing. It's not meant to be a sampler like the MPC or an old one of the Akai S6000s or something like that. Like, it's meant to be its own kind of a thing. And if you think that it's a weird workflow. And if you think of it in the same way as some of the other samplers, it's not going to do the same kind of thing. But the things that it does, I think are really cool. And I like how it forces you to perform with it. That's the thing. Like, it's an instrument that you have to play. And I've always really enjoyed that about mine.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting. Yeah, I don't think I would get one myself. I have enough sampler sequencer things sitting around here that I need to learn. That I don't need add another one to the pile. David01 says they should put their step sequencer now that it has 16 pads on it. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Well, they could probably do that in firmware, right?
They probably could.
Yeah, but they're rolling.
Yeah.
You'll get one firmware update and then nothing ever again.
That is a sad tourism, but yeah.
Yeah, it might work. It's so it's so cooperative with you having basically samples of lots of different lengths, and it's sort of a device where the timing doesn't matter in the sample, and it doesn't really care at all. The new one might, because it does stretching to get to do the chromatic sampling, but the SX and the A are just sort of, I don't know, it's almost like music concrete on a sampler or something in a way. Like, it's just like splicing stuff together.
When I first saw it, it was like, who was this designed for? Or rather, for what purpose was this designed? Because you're right, it's it almost feels like, some kind of controller for a subsystem in a power plant that also makes music. Like,
it's very weird.
The face is like totally unintuitive. It's completely crazy. It looks like a scientific calculator mixed, like I said, with some kind of industrial machine. I don't know, but
it's incredibly popular.
Cool.
Illustration Link says that I've seen bands play with the SP404s live before. Yep, they're popular as hell. They're probably one of Roland's biggest selling pieces of kit right now.
Which
I would imagine so.
Sometimes quirky and difficult can produce really cool.
And you have an interface
stuff.
That's different enough where you can approach it from a different mindset, other than like a standard keyboard, or even like a 808 style interface or 303 style interface or anything like that. So it's got that, and I find that having a unique interface makes my brain create differently.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
So the HVAC on a Starship is exactly what I want.
I was thinking it does look a little tricorder.
It does.
Very.
Yeah, so it's a cool thing. It's going for like what, 600? 500. Wow, that's a pretty good. That's a good price.
Yeah. And some commentary about that where it's like something about breaking beats and not breaking the bank or something.
Yeah.
Break beats, not the banks.
Yeah.
Or a bank of beats.
Bank your beats, not your bank.
Beats.
I don't know. God.
It's weird in here, man.
Man, we're not even done with the first hour, and we're already bombing these jokes, aren't we? Not even a half hour in, we already suck. This is good.
4 joke not found.
A bank meaning a collection. Of
if we have to explain it like this, then we're even worse now.
No, see, because mine wasn't a joke.
I know.
Yikes.
But everything I say is. Well, more news from Roland, or at least a Roland subsidiary, whatever you want to call it. Boss put together the RC600 and have released this thing. The RC600 is a loop station pedal board, basically. And Jeff, you pulled this one up, didn't you?
I did, yeah. They released an update to the RC505 not very long ago at all, and And then people were pumped for that, like understandably so. The 505 is really pretty neat. But for anybody who's not in touch with that, the 505, yes, you could stomp on it. You have to be really careful. It's really sort of a desktop looper. It's meant to be operated with your hands. And this one is a floor-based one. And I think, I can't remember exactly the comparison between the two. This one is a little bit more powerful than the 505 is. And it is, I mean, it's like a big honking thing. It's like 6 or 7 boss pedals wide. That's like a unit of measure, like a banana. It's like there's no consistent,
or a
I
Toyota
guess,
Corolla.
the boss pedals, but yeah, it's one Toyota Corolla wide and probably weighs as much as one.
Has 3 hit points of damage.
But it gives you a 2-point encumbrance penalty.
It for sure does. But it's pretty neat. It's got some more input output options than the 505 does.
Yeah, I see that. It's crazy.
Just seems like it's a little more targeted for either like more of a like one-man band type scenario, you know, where you have, you know, several instruments set up. I've seen people do this a lot with Ableton. Like Neon Vines has done a bunch of stuff like that. I've seen that.
Yeah, Zoe
she's
Keating
put
does
out,
that a lot
but
too. She does
seems
a lot
cool.
of the live looping with Ableton
Yeah.
and a cello. Yeah.
So looks cool. If you want to loop your
Loop to
loops, loop to loop with one of these.
So yeah, when we covered the update this summer to the 505 series, that's what the Graceful Bard uses.
Yes.
She uses the original 505, and I didn't realize how amazing that thing could be until I saw somebody who's a master of it use it. And then I was like, okay, now I get it. But you need talent. But if you have talent, you can do amazing things with it. But it was very long in the tooth, and it had been replaced by a bunch of ones like this, which are like all updated, more powerful, the samples have better management and stuff like that. But it was all floor-based and difficult to operate by your hands. So they released the 505 update this summer for people that are using their hands, but that left people who are using their feet behind. So now we have the update for that.
Makes sense. So it's good if you're a guitar player or a person that has other things to do with their hands than press 505 buttons. And that is this nice little foot pedal that's 18 inches long. That is a pretty good sized chunk of kit.
It's
no kidding.
quite
That's nice.
substantial.
I know if I were on stage and, you know, being a bass player and trying to control pedals from the floor in a show is a nightmare. So I guess in some ways
It's true.
Girth is a good thing.
And as
for
David
floor pedal
01
mic.
poignantly points out, it's red. It's nice. It's ketchup
Very
red,
red.
which is the kind of groundbreaking news you won't get anywhere else.
Yeah. It's like Dario
Yes.
Argento film Fake Blood Red.
You heard here first.
Unless you like saw it elsewhere.
Unless you looked at the website and saw a picture, or you have
Right,
vision
or
and you're not
you-
colorblind, or one of
you
those.
saw it pop up
We're the
on-
ones who said it out loud.
You saw it
This
pop
is
up
breaking
on
news.
Synth Anatomy. Literally, folks, no one sends us press releases. We dig around and find this shit for you.
With our color monitors.
Just investigative reporting that went on
Yes, I
to
saw
find
it
out
on
the
my
color of
EGA
this
monitor.
device.
Fake news. I'm sorry, it's
Oh, God,
really
you are
green,
colorblind,
and that's
aren't
just
you?
how it is. Next.
It's like that dress was it
something like
what was
that,
it
yeah.
blue or gold?
Yeah. Oh, it's red. Or so the
Dun,
Germans
dun,
want us to
dun.
believe.
We know the truth. This is why I drink.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, so Izotope just released Rx9, or as I like to call it, Prescription 9, possibly Drugstore 9, Pharmacy
Sounds like an
9.
early John Carpenter film, but I know it's not.
That's the name
Pharmacy
of the
9.
Tangents House band.
And we had to
Pharmacy
use this exact
Pharmacy.
same. We had to spell it like RX because
Oh yeah, we needed our outfits can be somewhere like Maroon 5
because
people
Ogre
dressed
didn't do
up
that
like barbarians.
back in
I think
the
it's great.
because wasn't it supposed to be
Yeah.
originally called Ritalin, and then he changed it to RX. Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So Ogre has come out with Izotopes Rx9.
Very good of him.
Very kind.
Very nice.
So this is the industry standard for a lot of like fixing mixes and finding weird little glitches and things and mastering audio and stuff like that. This thing is, folks that don't know RX, it's a really, it does a whole lot of really amazing processing and stuff like that. I've seen people that go in and be like, hey, there's a little thing that shouldn't be there. Let's go ahead and fix that. And they'll dig in there and they'll look at it and find where this little ding is and they'll delete it and didn't even know the ding was there until it was gone, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's kind of like Photoshop Lightroom for audio. It really is just the ability to correct anything, and it's super effective.
Yeah. So so I had to take a course in recording audio for film. And we were told that the one thing you can't do, the only unforgivable thing that you couldn't fix later was overmodulation. And in the analog world, you cannot fix overmodulation. If an actor's voice clipped or overmodulated a part, there was no way to fix it. And if you could get the actor in to like dub that word, maybe you could get by, but with the contracts, you might not be able to get them in. So it was a huge deal. So digital audio made it possible where you could find the clip, and if it was really short, you could maybe move a few data points and get rid of that clip point, and it would fix the frequencies. But now imagine you've done it for one syllable, and that takes forever. Say you've got 5 minutes of that, where somebody kept clipping on all their P's or S's. So this software can clean that up for you. And that's just that saves you such a tremendous amount of time. And that's just one function this has. So if you're doing professional stuff where you need to clean stuff up, this has a tremendous value.
Yeah. Another place that RX that I've used RX a lot. So I do quite a bit of work for like sound for picture for commercials and TV spot stuff for work, and I've done a lot of that over the years. And if you're doing on location recording, if you're in a building that's got a loud HVAC system, like sometimes no amount of doing your gain staging right or picking the right mic can eliminate it. And it is the only way that I have ever found that will reliably remove white noise from spoken word without hollowing out the center sound of the audio. I mean, it's really impressive what it does. It's very, very useful.
Yeah, when you do that kind of noise reduction, it usually creates a lot of artifacts. If you put it up too high, and they've got the math here that makes it much less noticeable as long as you don't overdo it on the threshold. Although if you abuse it, you can also use it to make interesting effects.
Yep. You definitely can. The artifacts are the one thing, and then the other thing that frequently happens with white noise over top of vocals is that it winds up feeling like it's scooped out like really hard, just a big time sort of like inverted bandpass filter, just notched out of it, and it doesn't really do that.
It's a pretty incredible piece of stuff. And the it's only $1,000 for like the full version of it.
But like if you work at a film production house, it's not a.
Well, you got like the new stuff,
but whatever Trump used,
so like some of the new features in there, they have a dialogue algorithm now, which will like what we were just talking about, where it will pull out dialogue from all the background noise and stuff like that. And this is some crazy like machine learning kind of style stuff as far as that kind of thing is concerned, that it does this kind of thing.
There's a reverb removal too, which is incredible.
I like that it does, it gets rid of like all the audio hum from like USB cables being too close to power, or anything being too close to your power, or shitty electricity in your house, that kind of thing. And you can do that with this thing called Ambience Match as well, where you can actually take those dialogues and stuff like that in these ADR cuts, and you can move it into a different environment completely. Whoa.
Yep.
Eliminating the need to record for room tone when.
So that's pretty damn slick. And then they have some other like little like UI enhancements and workflow, you know, quality of life enhancements and stuff like that. It will, you know, make your preferred folks fall in love with you. It'll make your teeth whiter, and it will make your children go to bed on time. So that's cool.
Fantastic.
Just using the demo,
See?
I got tall.
And if you're a Logic user, there's the Spectral Editor ARA, which is just built right into Logic, so you don't have to open up a copy of RX to do this. It's already built in there, so you can do the noise reduction right in there, which is kind of cool. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. But you know, I hope that my mastering engineer Adam Boos uses it. Hey, Prof. C Dub, thank you for the subscription. Appreciate it. I probably mispronounced your name. So yeah, Izotope Rx9. So our sponsors that don't know they're our sponsors, but they should be our sponsors at any day. Cherry Audio is just had announced two things. One of them is that all their stuff is M1 full support now. So it's so that's all native now instead of running through Rosetta. So that's cool. And they also, to celebrate, probably not to celebrate, but it just so happened that they decided to release basically, was it 27 Moog synthesizer modules? Yeah.
Couple dozen.
27 of them.
Correct. 7.
So yeah, if you need that. Oh, I'm streaming in multiple rooms. I feel special. The VM900 collection from Cherry Audio. So it's basically the System 900. Is it? Or the system?
I think it's
System
based on the
55.
System 55.
Yeah. I know my numbers, honestly. So this thing is ridiculous. It's going for $79 right now. Normally $99. So even that's like, you know, okay, but it's still, you get a bunch of Moog stuff that sounds really fucking good. Justin, you got this, didn't you?
Oh yeah. So this is my dream setup. Obviously, I'm a huge Berlin School person, and so this is like sort of the holy grail. Honestly, like I've messed with the Arturia one, and it's fine. It's adequate. But I hadn't played with Voltage. I bought most of their stuff, but I hadn't bought that platform. And I literally, you don't need to buy it. It's like basically free, but then you populate it with modules. I bought this and installed Voltage, and I played with it for friggin' hours, which is it's amazing. I will say this though, they've added some cool benefits to things that you couldn't do in the past. Notably in the sequencer, the infamous sequencer, you can now patch in like quantized functions, so it's not completely hurdy-gurdy. But you have to. It's merciless. You have to learn this like workflow that was developed by an engineer in the mid 1960s, right? Like it's merciless in that sense. And I'm not a modular person. I don't do Eurorack. I don't do any of that. So it was quite a fun adventure, but it's really fun. It's very satisfying. I would love to have obviously a physical version, but I don't have like $40,000 laying around. But yeah, awesome. It's great. It's good stuff. I'm really impressed.
And John Haynes, yes, it is part of their Voltage modular system. So that means that you can add whatever else to it. Off we go.
Totally.
Yeah, a lot of modules, and then unlike the System 55, it's compatible with them too.
And so if you don't like using the sequencer, you can use another sequencer that is easy to use.
Oh, yeah, totally.
If you wanted to. But I understand the whole philosophy of using the difficult one because it pushes you in a different direction and forces you to explore and have discoveries.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because the Behringer System 55, well, they've been coming out with those for a while, the modules, and now they're teasing, I think, like a Model 15 and then a 55. They've got a bunch of them. But if you look at in detail, they have what they call V-Trig and S-Trig, and so one is like native Eurorack and one is like proprietary Moog stuff, and it's actually been a real pain in the arse because so now the modules are equally distributed between the two triggering systems, so you have to use like this sort of other breakout module to convert from one to another, and I'm like, it's pretty mental, and you don't have to do that with this, obviously, so that's cool.
It's a much better deal too.
Yeah, I can't believe. I know it's not on our agenda, but I can't believe how expensive their System 55 clone is. It's like 3,600 or something. It's got the most expensive friggin' thing the Behringer sells.
Yeah,
I got to use a Moog 1 last week. I think that's the most expensive.
Same. I played
I've
with
ever
one too.
used.
Yeah,
that thing is crazy.
It's very nice, but you get a motorcycle for that.
Right.
Right.
Or
Get
mail order
more other types of synths. It's insane.
Yeah, I have too many polys. I don't need a Moog 1. And there's a whole nother angle in the Moog 1 I don't want to go too tangential on, but I think Moog struggled with some of the making a poly. I hate to say it, but they struggle with the math of making a poly because they're so darn good at making monos. That some of the phase cancellation issues and other things they've had with the Moog 1 have been, in my opinion, because they just couldn't, just like way back with the memory Moog in the 80s, they couldn't really get their sort of poly mojo,
Yep. And the tuning situation on the Moog 1, honestly, for a synthesizer that's almost $9,000 for the big one, the tuning problems they've had with that are just unacceptable.
But just like the memory Moog, it sounds bloody great and the UI is cool. So if you're willing to sally,
John Haynes asks, how many AX73s could we buy for the price of a Moog 1?
All of the ones that remain in existence. Literally all of them. You could own all of the AX73s.
Let's do it.
Probably there's a guy somewhere there who's got a couple of them stacked up in the corner. He's like, man, I would pay somebody $50 to come just haul this thing out of my house. It's been sitting in the way for 12 years now.
I bet those dudes.
He doesn't realize he has the world's largest collection of them.
We could be those people.
Yeah.
Two.
It's one. The world's largest collection of them is one.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Oh my God,
dude.
that's great though.
Christoph.
Anyway, some people believe that the Cherry Audio, these Moog modules aren't that accurate and that they just sound like other Cherry Audio modules. I don't know if they're accurate. I guess we'll have to see, some comparisons. But either way, they're fun. And if you're not trying to compare to that rig that you used to own 50 years ago and you were 80, then you're not going to know the difference. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. It's going to be creative, and it's going to eliminate all the drawbacks of hardware modular. Like, if I touch this knob, I'll never get this sound back. So Cherry Audio is a great deal for all this stuff. Voltage modular is fun, and it's the real problem with it is if you start playing with it, all of a sudden you missed work.
Yeah.
It's only 9:30 p.m. It's like, no, it's 7 p.m. the next day.
Your children haven't eaten for 2
21
days.
hours. So it's super addictive and fun, and time stops while you use it.
I love Cherry Audio too. I think they suffer from kind of what Arturia did in the early days, which is they're probably using very similar engines from a code perspective to do a lot of this. So there's going to be similarities for sure.
But it might be very accurate. I don't know.
I don't know either, and I'm sure they all sound bloody different, just like
nobody knows.
You can make music with it.
Yeah, right. It's a good romp, and it looks cool and it's fun.
Yeah. It's not the X Station 25.
Right. Unlike the X Station 25.
We got a question in the chat from Goat Center CX. Nymphs
I have
action.
no idea what that even means.
As the Dreadbox.
Oh yes, the Dreadbox
The
Nymphus.
Dreadbox nymphs.
Oh,
Yeah, we talked about that a few weeks ago. No, it was when it
last
first
week?
came out, which I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it
Oh,
was a week
yeah, it
after
was after
NowCon, so
NowCon.
that would have been like the
Yep. That's it.
check on YouTube for the X Studios YouTube channel, and you should be able to see it on the September
From
or earlier September show. All of the shows do have
Yeah.
show notes on what we talk about, so you can go use that to help find it too.
yeah, I would say it seems good.
Yeah, the
People
Nymphs
seem
looks
to
like
like it.
yeah, from what I understand, I've not seen any in the wild. I've seen it on like on the standard review channels and stuff like that, and it's getting good reviews. Dreadbox makes good equipment. I love Dreadbox's stuff.
Yeah, it's a good deal. Price wise, seems like pretty good bang for your buck for a
Yeah,
analog poly.
I'd buy it. Hey,
I'd buy that for $1.
I mean, I'm planning on getting rid of a whole bunch of my Eurorack stuff. I'm gonna keep my semi-modular stuff, but I'm probably gonna and some of the effects units in my Eurorack, but I'm gonna get rid of a bunch of it. I'm just not. It just doesn't wow me much. I really try to get into it, but then I just make the same drony, noisy stuff, and I just want to kind of. I'm sure other people could do better stuff with it than I can. So. Exactly.
thyself,
I'm not
man.
going to be upset about it. Besides, I can buy something else, and I'll have more room. I can buy an AX73. I can buy 15 to 20 of them. Speaking of M1 Mac compatibility, Waves Audio has announced M1 Mac compatibility, and in true Waves Audio fashion, unless you subscribe to them, you have to pay for that upgrade.
Good times.
You know, in the audio software world, I think Waves
And yet
is
they're the most
hated.
used too. Yeah.
It's because of stuff like this.
Yeah.
And yet it's ubiquitous in use.
Yeah.
Because they got in early, they released a ton of great things. It all sounds good on paper until you get sucked in, and then and it's hard to get off that train. Because you need it for backward compatibility so you can open up your old projects.
Yeah, and I remember when they went 64-bit and they made everyone pay for 64-bit compatibility.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's all very goofy business
It is.
models, stuff like that. I don't like that business at all.
But
Yeah. It does sound really
They
good. Their
really
products
are, but
really
I
good.
mean, it drives me
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, literally, these guys are just going they didn't add anything else to it but M1 compatibility, which basically means they ran everything through an updated copy of Xcode. That's all they
Yes.
fucking did.
Yeah, that's
they just
exactly all that happened.
Just recompile.
yeah, they
and now you have to pay for it
recompiled
again.
something, and
That
now you have to
is-
fucking pay full price for that, or you have to unless you're a
Yeah.
subscriber. And then but
And then
it's
it's
just
fine.
it's kind of
But-
maddening. I don't know.
well, okay. So a counterpoint though is that their products are decently cheap.
But it builds up over
some of
time.
them
though.
are.
So if I bought 20, 25
It's-
different plugins, and all of a sudden I'm paying them $700 every time I want to upgrade.
Yeah. So for me, if someone told me they wanted to use Waves, because I use it for mixing a ton. I'm not gonna lie. It's got mixing magic. Okay. On the other hand, some of those collections like the Chris Lord Abbey one, it's got lots of stuff, right? I of course am dumb and I went and bought all the SSL channel emulation stuff, and you're right, it adds up, and it's a total pain in the ass. But if you don't dip your toe too deep in the water, I think it's a good investment. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
It depends which package and how many plugins, but after a while,
Yeah.
it really does get you.
Yeah.
And I think the ill will costs them, because if it wasn't for the ill will, you would
Sure.
just keep buying more and more of their
Yeah.
plugins. And they have 11,000, 25,000 plugins. But really, it's several hundred plugins. And you would just keep buying them. It's I don't know what that mixer sounds like, but I'll buy their console plugin, or like,
Yeah.
I need another,
Mhm.
I need a 27th reverb, but you would do it. And so I think Waves was the first one of those companies where they hired people to go to studios as prospective clients, asked to view the software, and if they figured out that, your Waves license wasn't valid, they went after you.
Wow.
And, right, so you got a few people on licenses, but you
Right.
spooked everybody about your company. It's like, what is it? I mean, yeah, you made a few bucks, but what's it costing you in reputation?
Yeah, I think a better model is like the true up model, that a lot of IT companies have, where it's like,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
better
no doubt.
diplomacy.
Yeah. If you make it easy for people to buy your products, and if they feel like they're getting good value, and this doesn't do that. This makes it like, if I buy this, it's only going to work for like a few weeks until they have some patch that it needs, and then I'm going to be SOL. So now I'm not going to buy it at all. So the ill will, I think, really hurts them.
Yeah.
But that said, yeah, they make a lot of great plugins.
But so many other
I don't
companies
use
have
them anymore because I used to have some and they weren't compatible, and I found other things that I liked better. So I stopped.
I like the Fab Filter stuff a lot.
Yeah, that's really fantastic stuff.
Which does not have the subscription model. So if anybody's looking for something that is also extremely, extremely good, but not locked into subscription model, Fab Filter is a great option. Fab Filter is not inexpensive though.
Right.
Yeah, but you own it.
You do own it. But I mean, their packs are a couple $1,000, I think. Oh no, the total ones, what is it?
I don't have a pack.
I think, yeah, they have a bundle.
Yeah, they have a bundle, but if you just want the one plugin, you could do it.
Yeah, they're a couple $100 each.
But like PSP makes great affordable plugins, and then of course we own suites that comes with these things like Complete and the V collection. So yeah, there's a lot of great avenues you can go, and then of course for reverbs, Valhalla is all low cost and incredibly well respected.
Yeah, some's free.
Yeah, there's Shimmer plugins.
Free from Valhalla, yeah.
Shimmer is sauce.
And Eventide plugins go on sale. They're a good deal too.
Yeah.
And so same with a lot of some of the other, I mean, we were talking about RX earlier. Some of the other Izotope stuff is also very good. Neutron is super good for mixing purposes.
Yeah.
Ozone is super good, and most people shouldn't be using it. And 99.7% of the people who have purchased and downloaded Ozone are using it deeply wrong. But that's okay too. But Neutron's super good, and Nectar is also super good.
Yeah, I use Neutron for getting down to business. Like, when it comes to actually like doing EQ type of mixing, for me the waves, it just colors the sound nicely, and it creates like bus type channels and stuff that I don't have to manually do. It just kind of does it, and it is nice.
Yep. Neutron
really
is a weapon. It's just like you just got to go in there and do battle with it.
Yeah, like the delicately ornate crossbow, and Neutron is like the freaking 9mm with the extended clip.
I you know what, I use PSP for most of my mixing tools now, and then whatever's built into the DAW. And I'll use Neutron sparingly if there's something that I'm really like, oh, that needs to be fixed. But I just try to, I don't know. I'm very much, it's weird because it's like, even like in my non-music profession, I use the tools that come with things more than I used other tools. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm very much of the idea of, if I bought this thing, I should be able to utilize this in a way that I can get everything I need done with what's there. And exactly.
Really good. I use like the interface for Ableton Live, but it has
exactly. And like the compressors and like the reverbs in Logic are fucking phenomenal. As well as the delays in Logic. I mean, the delay designer and the reverb designer alone is just like blows my fucking mind every time I play with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think even this built-in synths with Logic are badass. I still question the UIs, but
Yeah.
I do
No, I
like
agree.
the synths themselves.
Yeah, the question.
But I mean, I think that they're, the stuff is fantastic and it comes with it, and I just use that. Fuck it. Is it, the part of me is part of me is always the philosophy is Joe average user going to sit there and be like, oh, he's using a Waves SSL plugin to make that mixer sound better? No. Ain't going to give a shit.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody
it's
knows anything about it. Only.
Oh yeah,
It kind of is in a way, and I'm not
self-indulgence.
I'm not trying to like shit talk people that do it, except for you, Justin. I totally shit talk you, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's just like I understand that there's like some warmth to it and stuff like that, and I definitely hear that in your mixes and stuff like that. But I know that if I play that for most people, they're going to be like, "Yeah, it sounds cool,"
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, the average user, they're not going to get it,
Right.
but it's something that's felt. If you really know how to exploit that difference, you'll be able to get that music for the masses SSL sound. But how many people can get that
Right.
sound out of it? Not a lot. And I've got a great story about Flood. He's mixing an It's Reb album. And Bob Harris says, how did you make it sound like that? He's like, I just twisted this knob. And it's just like, it's that knowledge of knowing how to just completely exploit a piece of gear and make it sing makes a world of difference. And it's like really, focusing on one synth and really mastering it. And there are people who have really mastered these mixers, and for them, it completely makes sense for them to get that SSL, emulation, because they know the sweet spot and the warmth, and they can get that certain sound that just hits at the reverb at that right moment, or like they've developed a way of making a kick like just thump. And when they exploit these two knobs on this piece of gear and it doesn't work on anything else. So for those people, it makes sense. Everybody else is like, no, it sounded good. But if you know how to exploit something, then it does make sense.
So, I mean, you have to, I mean, I've never used an SSL desk, obviously. But I would say that, like,
you're poor people.
You're right. I mean, I've been in studios, but I've never seen this. I've seen a Neve, but never seen SSL. But the point is, though, is that they also have presets, and I know a lot of people, you look down their nose at presets, but they're actually pretty dash handy, because it's like, and once you set it up, then you can tweak it. But you're absolutely right. If they gave you something like, without presets or any guidance, just like Ozone, nobody would know what the hell they're doing with it. I mean, it's so opaque that
it's true.
Yeah, and as much as I hate presets, I also understand that if you have deadlines, presets will save your ass.
Yeah, I'm
same.
more like a preset and tweak guy. Preset and tweak is the way to go for me, because I don't always have time to reinvent the wheel. It's just
the biggest strength for me for presets is it'll give me ideas that I wouldn't have thought of and show me stuff I wouldn't have found. I'll still tweak it, but I never would have thought of that thing.
Yeah,
so they're incredibly helpful. I mean, I can look down my nose on just completely relying on them and not understanding how your gear works. But if you know how your gear works and using presets anyway, well, then you found something that's useful.
Yeah,
right. In the end, it just makes something that's good. It doesn't matter how you do it.
I'm snobby about synth presets, but I'm not snobby about mixing ones, and I think it's because that's not my primary vocation.
And to be honest, as much as I can look down on synth presets, I love picking them out of songs that I love. I'm like, I have that patch. I own that synth. If people have made all their own sounds,
right?
That preset's like
there was a band that was around in Cleveland for a while, and the guy would just use not just the presets, but he would use the patterns that came with the drum machine he would buy, like all the demo patterns. And when he used them all up, he would just buy a different drum machine and use up all the patterns on there. He had no idea how to program the drum machine. These were like those Roland like groove boxes from like the early 2000s, late 90s. And he literally would just like play those preset, like the pre-made drum sounds.
Yeah. It's like also knows you're gonna write.
He's going for this.
Yeah, I know, right?
But
seriously,
write?
Oh, I know. Well, he's going for that CR78 methodology,
was just
right? Like, come on.
These things aren't hard to program. They're groove boxes, for Christ's sake, And then he was like, "Oh yeah, I ran out of patches, so I just bought this drum machine, and now I have all these. I can continue making music now."
No,
That's actually a completely valid thing to say if you had the Roland R8, which is a completely overrated drum machine. It had so little memory. If you put in a lot of layers, you couldn't write more than one song with it without maxing it out, and you had to buy really expensive proprietary memory cards. And you couldn't just like pick and choose from the memory card. You had to completely wipe the machine out and restore setting from a card.
So, Chris, I had the same problem with my R8, and I found a way around it, and that was I used my EPS 16 Plus to send SysX. And it still sucked, though, because I couldn't use it live, right? Because I had to load up the SysX, send it to the R8.
Also, I mean, you could just sequence it with something else, and then you'd be okay. You know, that's the beauty of like bringing a computer into production. I wasn't stuck to the horrible interface and limitations of the R8. The R8 had some great strengths to it, but I keep reading about how it was like the perfect drum machine for an industrial, and it absolutely was not. It was so poorly suited for industrial.
Yeah.
And everybody who says it's the perfect drum machine for industrial either doesn't know what industrial is or never owned an R8.
Yeah. I think a lot of people had to make it work, and I think that's kind of.
And I did, but it was so much harder than it had to be. And then I formed a band with a guy who had an Alesis SR16, and I was so mad about how much better his cheaper drum machine was than mine.
Dude, I'd take a TR707 over an R8 if I was doing industrial.
Oh. No, not at all. No,
Sorry,
I just
went tangential,
dropping
Andrew.
frames at the moment.
Yeah, blah, 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 waves.
something waves,
something.
something dark side. All right.
Anyway, if you have an M1 Mac, because you're trapped in that ecosystem, you have an update. And if you're in the subscription model, it's not a big deal. And if you're not,
I love his jealousy and bitterness, how he tries to hide it. Yeah.
it is a little bit both.
I love it.
It's because they screwed me. You know, I used to have Logic, and I used to have a great MIDI device made by eMagic.
Well, then you just need to buy a Mac. System fixed.
Well, to quote Dieter from Sprockets, your agony is delicious.
So back in Jeff's world. Hi. So
Yes,
IK my Multimedia
Cheers.
has turned Tascam 4 tape recorders into plugins. So we got the Porta 1 Mini Studio, the Tascam 388, the TAC, I don't know how to pronounce that, A3470S, and the A6100 Mark II are now plugins. Let's talk about this because I'm curious about this.
Yeah, I'm so curious, dude.
Two of these are interesting. The TAC A6100 and 3470S to me are not interesting. They're real machines. I don't know. Fine, whatever. The 388 is a really weird reel-to-reel machine that I would love to have one. It is an 8-track reel-to-reel, and it also has an 8-channel mixer. So it's probably the first kind of not quite Porta Studio. These things go for a mint now, especially like Soundgas is refurbing them, and they're selling them for like 12 to 15 grand. It's just crazy. But it's a really cool desk. It's actually like they're physically quite large, but it's a 8-channel reel-to-reel machine. And the Porta 1 was the very first Porta Studio.
I had one of these.
Tascam did, the mini studio. Yeah. I really like the sound that cassette gives to stuff. I don't like it from the perspective of if you're recording lots of tracks on the device and bouncing track to track to track to track, because you introduce so much noise and hiss that it's not good. But I don't know. Cassette compression is really cool, and I think it just sounds really neat. And I also really like interesting trick for anybody who maybe didn't work with cassettes all that much ever. If you record too hot to the cassette, the erase head won't remove it fully. So you get this ghosted image. You can exploit that and do some really interesting stuff with that as well. Especially if you are really very, very careful about it. So you can create some almost weird delay experiences with it if you're using it sort of like as an insert effect or something in your mastering chain. That's how I use mine. I don't really like record to them for multi-track, but the way that these sound is pretty interesting. I don't know that it's fully convincing I haven't found anything that says it's tape compression that's fully convincing, but these do a pretty good job, and it gives you some of the workflow too.
I was going to ask, because the only one I found that I really like, and that's the Yuhi tape emulator. But yeah, so I was just curious, because I do really also love the tape sound, especially the bass saturation you can get in tape.
Yeah. I mean, truth be told, it's if you look at the cost of I think a lot of people, it's really easy to look at the cost of the Porta Studios these days and go, wow, $400 for a Porta Studio. That's crazy, because they were $12.93 new or whatever.
They're $400 or $500 new, so they're what they cost back then.
They're the same quality as a McDonald's Happy Meal toy, and
So
all those things, But to be fair, for $400, if all you want is a tape saturation plugin, there's lots of plugins out there that cost $400, and there aren't any that sound as good as the real deal for tape saturation. So just hit up Craigslist, meet in a public place, and buy a 424.
Yeah, I sold my Fostex 4-track not that long ago, but it needed a lot of TLC, so.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I didn't sell it. I beg your pardon. I gave it to somebody who I knew would fix it. So,
solid.
Honestly, for tape saturation effects, I think you're probably a lot better off going with one of these reel-to-reels than the 4-tracks.
Yeah.
I feel like if the Porta Studio had been better, my life would have gone in a different direction. But it so destroyed all of my recordings because it was so terrible in its quality and so limited that it destroyed the music. And I feel like it's part of the reason why my band back then didn't get signed. It was just so bad. Now, I found out later that the one I was using was kind of faulty, and that made it much, much worse compared to others. What I did like about the Porta Studio was that if you overdrove the gain, it did
really
have a great distortion.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that's arbitrary. It's like it depends per model because the circuitry changes. But like if you overdrive the gain on a Mackie mixer, it's unusable. It's like a digital noise because it really doesn't want to clip. And so once it does, it just goes, it's not harmonically useful. But you could do really harmonically useful distortions overdriving the Tascams. So it was useful for that. But I dance on the grave of the Dolby NR that it used. And the horrible tapists, and it was like what I talk about with how I own a really crappy sampler from Korg, because what I put out isn't what I put in it isn't what I get out, but it's more interesting because it sounds harder and meaner and more lo-fi in a good way. What I put into the Porta Studio came out much worse, and it just sounded terrible. And so that said, I do know that there are people that exploit these things and get useful stuff. And I do know that the one I was using was much worse than others. Like the first one, I've heard good recordings on it, and I've heard good recordings on other 4-tracks, especially like from a Yamaha 4-track. So it definitely depends on which Tascam 4-track you're using, because some were good and some were terrible.
That's for sure true.
But so Ken Marshall's channel, he spent a lot of time rebuilding one of his old reel-to-reels, and he's got a very fancy digital studio, but he likes the warmth that he gets out of one of these reel-to-reels. I don't remember the name, it's not a Tascam, but it's a very expensive unit, and he bought a rebuild kit, and he did a lot of work on it to get it, and it's just to get that tape warmth. So I know that tape warmth is a real thing, it is valid, it's not useful for me, but for other people, it's a real joy. I know that also you can mess around with these things, like mess with the tempos, and you can play them like an instrument and do interesting things like, what's his name, Alessandro Cortini, what's his name?
Yep.
Cortini.
So these do have a use, and this is a cheap way to get that sound. And, you don't have to spend $11,000 on a device. So if you like tape, it might not be that accurate, but it's going to get you close to what you're looking for, significantly cheaper. And it's not going to create, it's not going to take up space in your house. So that now your girlfriend's mad that all your junk is taking up your space and she wants you out because she feels uncomfortable in your home.
Some biography there.
Yeah. I agree with you in terms of the quality of the reel to reel. Like if you're going for higher quality, it's definitely there. But the way that so fully on board with you on what you're saying with the like recording on the 4 tracks, that's not a great experience because you lose too much quality there. But if all you're doing is bouncing like a left and a right to it, and then like you just take your stereo 2-track out.
A reel to reel also has more tape that has more bandwidth, so it can create more range. It can run faster.
That's why they're worse. That's why the cassette is better, is because it has less bandwidth and it sounds more lo-fi. That's why I like them.
I mean, if I want to reduce the fidelity, then I'll just put it through a crappy compressor and high pass and low pass filter.
You remember those crazy like 70s almost toy reel to reels that Boards Canada used? I don't know what all the manufacturers were, but that was a classic case of like, that doesn't sound right, but it's so not right that it's right.
Worse is better.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes these low fidelity effects introduce wonderful errors. But, the Tascam I had did not. It did not do anything good except for that distortion.
Yeah, I struggled with my Fostex. It's all I had for many years, and I would bounce recordings, right? You need to keep bouncing because 4 tracks wasn't always enough. And I also did that trick where I would record on 2 channels at once and get full stereo by putting the pans on either side. So then you do that, and then you bounce those 2, and by the time you were done, it sounded like a mountain.
So much generational loss, and just muddied to all hell. And it just wasn't that useful. And we're just so lucky to live in a digital age where we can have pristine tracks with no tape hiss, no loss. What you put in is exactly what you get out. Yeah. I mean, that way, but you can change it. But the option's there, and the option wasn't there when you just had these Porta Studios.
Yep.
But on the other hand, it was the Porta Studio, or you weren't going to record at all because the studio was $300 an hour.
Yeah, plus tape.
Plus tape.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why we recorded that way, because there wasn't any other way. And this brought it home, so you could just start mixing stuff at home and you could make your own stuff. So I understand why it was so important and great, but the ADAT and then the computer multimedia revolution, it's a welcome change. And I do not miss the Porta Studio at all. But I do understand the need for that warmth and how people pine for it.
Sure. It has a utility distinct from what it was originally.
And this plugin might give it to you. And if it won't, it'll still give it to you a lot cheaper.
It is cheaper than Craigslist.
Yeah, $129. It gives you 4 of them, which is
And if you buy from their website, you're less likely to get stabbed in an alley.
When you buy that, when you buy 4 AX73s.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, that's part of the cost of Craigslist.
Okay, well, Jeff, your children are saved. There is a new children's book that they can read about Daddy when he's down in the basement hanging out, which is pretty much 90% of the time, ignoring your children. It's called My Daddy Has 100 Synths by Billy Cardigan.
Open you.
It is in fact written by the same guy.
Yeah, it's I cannot say that the art style is for me, but some of the excerpts are pretty funny.
I like the this one is polyphonic and has a vocoder. This one was used by Giorgio Moroder. This is the classic mini Moog used by Kraftwerk and Depeche Mode. I mean, come on now. It's beautiful. It's lovely. I love this. I'm going to get it for the studio.
I mean, these are delicious little couplets.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, this just stocking stuffer written all
It really does.
For sure.
My granddaughter's stepdad is a synth nerd as well, so I'm thinking I might get it for her because I think that would be
nice.
Perfect. Prof. C Dub
And,
is trying to come up with more Dr. Seuss style synth things. I would not use it in a box. Yeah.
I wouldn't use it with a fox.
I would not use another DAW.
I can't stand such blubber blubber. My tongue is not made of rubber. We could just.
I was trying to make a rhyme with unquantized clocks. Thinking about Moog.
Dude, fox and socks. Got it.
Yeah, there you go. I would not use it in a
Box and
box.
socks
I would not
and
use
clocks.
unquantized clocks.
The Billy, Cardigan that wrote this, he's not the guy from Smashing Pumpkins.
No, that's Billy Corrigan.
All right.
Yeah,
Who-
another Chicago native
Yes.
who apparently shows up around in restaurants here occasionally.
There, before you lived there was the time when Billy Corrigan showed up at a coffee shop and played a 6-hour modular set.
Weird.
Yeah, people were kind of irritated as shit because it was really terrible, and it was based around Siddhartha, the book.
Just like the Smashing
Yeah,
Pumpkins.
just like the Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, now we're getting into territory that I feel will offend many people, but there will be much honesty.
It is us. If they're not offended by now,
Yeah,
I'm not trying hard.
exactly.
I also.
Right.
Yeah. He's one of those rock stars that's gone around the bend, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, self-indulgent up beyond.
Yeah.
So yeah, new children's books, $15. You can get it off that link there, and it looks cute. It looks like fun. Everyone should buy it. Everyone should own it. So great news for everybody but Christoph. And that is Apple has upgraded the MacBook Pros with 2 new style of chips, the M1 Pro and the M1 Max.
Well, that's great news for Christoph. That's a new computer that he
It's
can go
true.
buy.
It makes a hell of a lot less noise than his current one, that's for sure. Hey, where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
You guys are just jealous of my noise. Behold my fan noise and its power.
These are bold words from a man who was just railing against the Porta studio.
Great.
So 14 or 16-inch MacBook Pros. Redesigned, has ports on it, more than just 4 USB-C ports. MagSafe plug, which is one of Apple's best inventions ever, has gloriously returned. So if you're a musician that's playing live, when you trip over your cord, it doesn't take your laptop with you.
That is a great invention. They replaced the keyboard with an iPad click wheel.
Oh yeah, that's the famous Onion skit. The Apple
Yeah,
wheel.
and also,
Yeah.
Christoph, there was an iPod, not an iPad click wheel. If you want to be,
Oh, what
your
is the
joke is
iPod click
your
wheel?
joke is wrong, and you are wrong.
Well, they just called it the wheel. I don't think they for legal reasons they probably didn't say iPod, but yeah, it was a
I will.
I wheel. Anyway,
The iWheel. Yeah.
so yeah,
My favorite was the user that was interviewed that said, I'm sorry, I have to pick on Apple, Andrew, but he said, I don't really know what this thing does. And it took me 45 minutes to send a short message. But when I send it, it says that it came from an Apple iWheel.
so
So,
that makes it even better. Absolutely. So yeah, they got HDMI. Weirdly enough, it's only HDMI 2, not 2.1, which is kind of bizarre. They got rid of that weird touchpad thing up along the top, put function keys back on there where it belongs.
nice.
It's got a very impressive, nice, tasty looking display. The M1 chips have already been kind of blowing away a lot of people's expectations. The M1 Pro looks like it's going to do even more so. Up to 10 core CPU, 16 core GPU. It's 70% faster than the M1, which was already pretty quick.
Do you think they're going to release a new Mac Mini with these increased specs?
I think maybe eventually down the line, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. I think that they're doing a very wise phased approach where the M1 Mac Mini is still a good machine, as well as they introduced the lower price computers first, so that way the developers got their hands on them, can start developing their software with it, as well as getting the consumers into that whole world. And now they're entering the pro field, so you're probably not going to see I would imagine like when they do the Mac Pro, then after that they'll probably reiterate into the next generation of the processors for the Mac Minis.
I see.
I think the Mac Minis are going to be basic M1s for at least 4 years, I would say.
Okay. It's poignant for me because I need to upgrade my Mac. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for the free advice.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of that's how it feels that things are going, in my mind. I'm an Apple nerd, so that's what I do. But the M1 Max is again the 10-core CPU, and it doubles the GPU, so it's got 32 cores. What? It has 400 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth, which is really pretty damn fast. And then it supports up to 64 gigabytes of memory, and this is all on the same chip. So they're putting everything on one little chip, for better or for worse. For better, it reduces bottlenecking and stuff like that by a lot. The downside is that if they're not modular anymore, so you can't just replace a processor or memory or your video card, that kind of thing. If you want to do something like that, then you look at for like a Mac Pro or something. The current Mac Pros you can do those with.
And the other complication is that when you're putting it all in one chip, heat becomes another issue or a challenge to this.
Correct, but these things they do have some very powerful fans in these things that almost never really turn on because these are also frighteningly efficient, little chips. I've played with some M1s before, and like on a MacBook Air, a baseline one, and I installed stuff to try to crank the thing and make the fans go, and I vaguely heard them once.
Wow.
And that was me opening up Logic in 6 Omnisphere sessions, and it was.
Yeah, they do. Mac's always done a pretty good job with a lot of that stuff. I mean, even my 1,000-year-old iMac that I use doesn't seem to struggle too badly with stuff like that.
Yeah, they're saying about 21 hours of battery life on the 16-inch model, 17 on the 14-inch model, which is really fucking good. The thing is half battery, just like most of the MacBook Pros nowadays. All the Macs that are battery powered are half batteries at this point. Thunderbolt 4, HDMI, SD card slot, headphone jack, MagSafe port. Those are all the ports that are on there. It has a 1080p camera on it for your video conferencing. They have neat 6 speakers in the laptop, that's nice. And they start at $2,000.
Yeah, you're looking at. I spec'd one out the other day just to see how it would all shape out, and it looks like it's about on the 16-inch to get the. I've always found it's like generally with Macs, the best thing to do is just load it up all the way. Just load it up all the way
and use it for 12 years.
Keep it.
Ride it into the ground. Yep. And so if you load it up all the way, not with hard drive, I think I spec'd it with like a 2 terabyte hard drive. And then just use externals for storage. Like that should be enough to run any of your, video editing or audio editing stuff. And you can offload your files that are not working files to external storage for a much better cost. That one was like $5,700, I think.
But I think it was. But I spec'd one out just for shits and giggles with everything. So that's with the 8 terabyte solid state hard drive. Yeah, and that was $8,000, which is expensive, but it's less. I was expecting to be 10, so I was like, okay, that's
nice.
And if it serves you in a audio editing or video editing capacity, and can be current and highly usable for something like that for 10 or 12 years, which literally it will be, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I think that's, I tell people a lot about total cost of ownership kind of thing. That's generally my go-to argument for Mac versus PC, and people are like, well, why are Macs so much more expensive? I'm like, because you're actually not spending much after you buy the thing.
Yeah, and it comes with a bunch more software than Windows
Right.
machines do.
That's
too.
useful, not just
You're
AOL. You know.
Yeah.
And a free month subscription to Norton Antivirus.
CompuServe.
Yeah.
CompuServe.
Serve. But yeah, so that is the new MacBook Pro. Everyone should go buy one. Also in Apple news, they updated Logic to go for that will utilize all the new M1 Pro and Max chips on the MacBook Pros, but they also added spatial audio tools, which I think is very nice of them. So usually you had to pay, I think it was like $400 to $600 for the Dolby spatial audio tools, and now they're built right into Logic with a new Logic update. So they have says, and according to the copy pasta, it allows anyone to author songs as Dolby Atmos music files compatible with Apple Music. It gives 13 plugins within Logic Pro capabilities to take advantage of Dolby Atmos as well. So like your reverbs and all that other jazz, your delays, tremolo, limiter, all that kind of thing. And then it also gives you Producer's Pack, which is like a big sound library, like a couple gigs of hundreds of gigs or something like that of sound libraries. So yeah. And if you are a Mac user and you don't have Logic, Logic is $200. It's probably one of the more affordable digital audio workstation pieces of software. And if anything, it's probably one of the most valuable digital audio workstations, just for considering all that it gives you for $200. I don't think you'll find anything else out there, period, that for $200 will give you the synthesizers, the mixing tools, the Dolby Atmos, mixing tools, all that stuff right out of the box.
Usable pitch correction. Yep. It's also got scoring capabilities. So you'd have to, if you were with something else, you'd have to buy like
Sibelius or whatever.
Or something. Yeah, you get a lot of bang for your buck with Logic.
So yeah, that's Logic that came out. If you are a Logic user already, it's a free update. Just click on your app store and just go to the updates, and it will download and install it for you. Speaking of software updates, our friends over at Akai have updated the Force. There's their Pro Force software to 3.1 in an update that kind of sounds a lot like an Akai update nowadays, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've always kind of wondered what this thing was for. I know a lot of people use them. I know, but it's like, to me, it's like a clip launching thing. So again, it's really not my space. But the use that I thought of it, and what I wanted to use the MPC 5000 for was sort of for live playback manipulation. So if that was, and I remember you in Missile Command, like all the machinations you had to do to get that to work in a live environment. This is the kind of thing where it's like you get disk streaming now, which is, I think the MPC 5000 had that, and that was super cool. And that's old. That's like over 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
So kudos for them for that. Yeah, you're right. They've just dropped a lot of the MPC OS stuff on it, like the plugins and all that and some other things. If you look at the demo, I actually watched it because I find Akai's demos very hypnotic. They're like one of the few manufacturers that actually does long demos.
Yeah.
But like he, demoed it with a mixer and with a MIDI controller, and so a light bulb went on my head, and I'm like, this would be super great for doing live playback of a concert, live show, where you need backing tracks and you can manipulate them in real time, so you're not totally static. Right. So I don't know. That's to me what its sweet spot is. I could be probably wrong.
It feels a bit like a standalone, like Ableton style kind of like clip playback launching device and everything like that. I know a lot of guys in like the Golden Shrimp Guild are own these and use these things, and they love them and everything like that. Like I said, I'm okay as far. I'm not much of an Ableton person, not much of a clip launcher person. I have gear that does that already. I have like the Octatrack. I can do similar kinds of things. And I can play right off the disc on that too, and I can do backing tracks on it and that kind of thing too. That kind of stuff. So, and then like obviously the MPC one, similar kind of ideas and stuff like that as far as that's concerned. But it's definitely the folks that use it love it. To me, I look at it and I'm like, it looks like Ableton, and I shy away from it.
Yeah.
I make hissing sounds and give it the sign of the cross. But those tools, like I've used those tools on the MPC one, and they are really good. They're very powerful tools.
Yeah. No, if I was a clip launcher and I wanted standalone, I mean, this is pretty much the only place to land as far as.
No, I agree. And it's a free update if you are a Force user.
You don't even have to say a goddamn word.
I find your lack of faith most disturbing.
Exactly. I don't know if you intended that, Christoph, or if it's the ambient reverb in that room you're
really
in.
did.
That sounded very good. That was very good.
Trying.
But yeah, it's a good. That's cool. Everyone should buy it.
Yep. Glad that they update their products for free.
Yeah, it also comes
Even when
with
you're not subscribed.
new synths as well. It comes with a Mellotron emulation, a Selena emulation, and an Arbodyssey emulation.
Yeah, which because they released it for the MPC one first, I have to say are delicious, especially the string machine and
the Selena,
Mellotron. Yeah.
You probably have other analog emulations, but Selena is different because it uses divide down technology.
Right.
So, like other synths just aren't going to get like the characteristic sound of this. So it's really special. These string synthesizers. There's a reason why there's like a cult of string synth aficionados, and now you've got one if you have this. So that's
absolutely.
really nice.
Yeah. And it also gives like the Air Vocal Suite, which is also on the MPCs nowadays. So that gives you like weird like granulator stuff and stutter edit effects and like pitch correction, auto tune, whatever you want to call that. But yeah.
Yeah, you'll notice, Andrew, in some of the tracks I sent you, I'm misusing vocal tracks on samples. That
I love that. I love that shit. And then also they implemented similar to what they did with the Akais, where they have the class compliant USB audio interface support in it now too. So you can plug in an audio interface and get up to 32 inputs and outputs on that bad boy. So these things.
Yeah, they showed it with a mixer. I don't know if it's ADAT or how they're doing it. I didn't pay attention, but yeah, 16 channel mixer plugged right in.
Yeah, it depends on the mixer. Some of them have the digital mode and they just plug in through USB. Like I know the Tascam ones have that. And I think
right.
Does your mixer have that there, Jeff? Your new one?
No, my mixer doesn't have USB.
I'm not sure if it was like something you can just plug into your Akai and then skip off.
No, my mixer is extra super duper mega hardcore low tech. It's
oh my god,
100% analog.
Is it? So it's like it's the cyberpunk. What is it? High tech,
low life.
Low.
This is.
Low life. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. That's why I had to buy the crazy Motu interface.
But you can use that Motu interface with the.
I could use the Motu interface direct into it.
So yeah, the Akai Pro Force 3.1 software update. Now most of the Akai software seems to be on the same page as far as what they offer, which is nice of them. See here, a couple some synth deals here. The Arteria V collection right now is 50% off. V collection is a fantastic little product of all kinds of fun virtual analog pieces of gear from the past. So it gives you the EMU Emulator 2, Moog Vocoder, Juno 60, Analog Labs, Stage 73, the Jupiter 8, all this kind of stuff.
Modular 5, the Oberheim SEM, ARP 2600, Yamaha CS80, Matrix 12, Buchla easel, Synclavier, Mellotron Albeck say now. It's really a
A
fantastic
Selena.
suite.
So again, back to the string synths.
Proud owner. Yep. I'm a proud owner of the collection. I haven't updated to the current version. And this is the first deal to hit. They were recently just selling it for upgrades, plus the SQ80, which this deal I don't think includes. But we'll see if it gets added by Black Friday.
So yeah, it's going for $299 right now. It's usually 500, like $600. That's a lot of synth,
and if you
for not a lot of money.
If you use soft synths and you love the old synths, this is absolutely worth every cent. A lot of these emulations are really good. You can dial in the sounds. It will be close enough. It recreates the workflow. I really do love this collection.
Oh yeah, a lot of synths for your cents.
Yeah. Totally love it too.
All right. Here's one that Justin, you threw this one up there. This what the hell is this thing? This is the Chris Synths making a DIY polyphonic analog synthesizer because he has nothing better to do with his time.
Yeah, this is so mental. I love it. I mean, it's funny because like you'd think that there would be enough. How should I put this? This isn't the kind of thing that you just dabble in. That's exactly what this guy's doing, which is cool. I just think it's fascinating to me that like the relationship between hardware and software are sort of, I don't know, like it's like people are willing to sort of take risks and do like projects like this. I think that's really cool. No idea where it would go for this, but I give total kudos to this dude, and like it's pretty amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's a cool little thing. I hope this guy makes it, and it's incredible. And then he goes on and does something else.
It is so much harder to make a decent modern polysynth compared to a monosynth. It's a tremendous undertaking.
Oh, I can imagine.
So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I just thought that was novel and interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of novel and interesting, and making sure that we are like discussing modern, up-to-date topics, Justin, tell us more about the Korg Prologue sound library that's inspired by the soundtrack to Dune.
Oh man, this thing is crazy.
The new Dune, not the old.
Yeah, not Toto.
So obviously, I've watched. Andrew and I are both Dune nerds, and I've watched the trailers, and it's great. And I guess we'll be watching it. Was it tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 8 p.m. It's popping up on HBO Max. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the first half. I'll definitely be tuning in. So I don't really know what the soundtrack sounds like. But,
I bet it has space truck horns.
It kind of does, which made me a little sad, only because it seems like Villeneuve seems to like.
Well,
them.
no, it's
There's
what's his name? It's Hans Zimmer, the master of space truck horn.
Yeah.
Add more French horns.
Sure. No, I mean I know he's not like a John Carpenter, but
It's like he's like the Giorgio Moroder of French horns.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't care. French horns are incredible. And I love Hans Zimmer's game.
Yeah, I would say the soundtrack to Blade Runner 2049 deeply disappointed me, but that's a whole, yeah. So
also went through production difficulties. Like, the original composer got fired,
and then he killed himself.
Then Hans Zimmer took over.
Sure, and I don't dislike Hans Zimmer and other stuff. So, but
I can go off on a tangent about my opinion on the Blade Runner 2049 soundtrack, much less the rest of the movie. I believe that Blade Runner 2049 was the only movie that I've ever seen where they didn't even bother trying to look for Jared Leto once he got lost. He just wandered off, and they're like, all right, let's just finish making this movie. Who knows where the fuck he went?
That's the way to go with Jared Leto, though.
Yeah.
That's not going to get
Most
better.
useless bad guy ever. I'm deep. So is the pool you just fell into. Bye.
Well, yeah. Was it Ryan Gosling? Wasn't he the main dude?
Yeah.
I think the casting was shit. I was disappointed in Villeneuve because Arrival was so good. It was such.
Well, Arrival was intimate, and Blade Runner was anything but.
There's a reason Ridley Scott walked away and didn't direct it.
Yeah. It's kind of an abomination. I don't consider it canon. I want nothing to do with it. But anyway, these sound really, really good. I do own the the Prologue still, although I own the 16 voice, and it is currently in my permanent storage rack because it doesn't play nice with the Jasper stands. Because as you know, Jeff, it's got that weird sort of ovular,
You
like,
have to like make it almost flat. Yeah.
yeah. So it just wasn't working. So I'm probably gonna let it go, which makes me sad because I do like it. But yeah, these sound really, really good. The last pad that I mentioned that was on there sounded so good. It just blew my mind. So if you're a Prologue person and you like sci-fi soundtrack, cinematic shit, highly recommend this. It sounded really
And
good.
go see Dune.
Go see Dune. Or be like me and stream it from your couch.
Go see it on
I'm
your
going to see it
couch
on my.
in your living room.
Don't listen to Dennis. I'm going to watch it. Just stay alive, be safe, watch it at home.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, watch Dune or talk to girls because it's one or the other.
Like this stuff, I made that decision many moons
Yeah.
ago.
How many times have I read Dune since then?
Yeah. What's the golden age of science fiction, Christoph? I think it's 12. I was like, I could be a normal social person, or I could read sci-fi books.
I know what wins here.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next up here. So Roland and all their wisdom has come out with a new piece of software that runs on both iPads, iOS, as well as Android, and it is a tracking recording app. And it's the Zen Tracker is what they call it, which sounds really deep. This is a...
I can tell you why, Jeff.
What's that?
You know, Jeff asked, "Oh, why?" I can tell him, but I'll let you complete.
All
first.
right. So if you are a Roland Cloud user, you too can lock your recordings into this ecosphere and never be able to escape it.
It's like the Phantom Zone.
It really is. Like the mirror will come down and take your tracks and you'll be yelling, forgive me, and it will not forgive you at all. So this is great if you are planning on using Roland forever, or until they decide that they don't want to support you anymore.
Wait, I don't want to let you export to stems if you have the paid version.
I think so. Yeah, I think you can dump it.
Yeah, you can import it to Wave, Ogg Vorbis format, and some other FLAC, I think.
Yeah. So you guys probably don't know this, but this actually fills a void for the Android.
Yes.
There's not a lot of great multi-track recording tools for the Android world. Of course, when you're recording an Android, your recording capabilities are also limited. So you record from either your crappy phone mic, or now if you have a phone like me, you've got one audio input because I have a headphone jack. Because I haven't given up my phone yet, even though the screen doesn't work anymore.
You don't need a screen.
Yeah, right. So like what I have to do is it still shows stuff. Like I know what time it is, but I can't touch it and make it do things. I have to use the stylus because I have a Galaxy Note. So it'll still listen to this, but it ignores my finger.
Much like most of your girlfriends.
Yes. So I know my time with this phone is limited, but I don't want to give it up because it's still got that headphone jack. And then after this, what do you got? You're going to have to buy some kind of audio interface if you want to do real multi-track recording. And if you're going to put that money in, then you probably own a laptop and you should record with that instead.
Sure.
But there's a lot of times where I didn't have my laptop on me and I did want to record something and I couldn't because I didn't have a good multi-track recording tool. And there's been a lot of different ones for Android, and the ones that I have found generally work terrible. And although I really love Caustic, recording just audio tracks is not something you can do. You can do like a 30-second sample, but you can't do layers of 4 minutes of audio. And there's been looper tools. So Roland is stepping in with a big name to do this. Now, Fruity Loops has an app. I don't know what for Android. I don't know what it does, but this is Roland. But yeah, if you buy this, you can use it for free, and it has limited capabilities. If you have the Roland Cloud, then it unlocks some of those abilities. But again, you're getting on a subscription model, and you're kind of hosed.
Yeah.
But I know for iOS, how many multi-track recorders do you have besides GarageBand? I'm going to guess 10 to 11,000.
Well, something. I think like
Yeah, probably.
I've used
Yeah,
GarageBand,
for
and that was
Android,
it
you
so
have
far.
and for Android, you have 5, 3 of which were discontinued 6 years ago and won't run on your phone, and the other 2 are buggy.
Yeah.
So this is a good option, and it makes sense that they did this. And it's just them fleshing out their ecosystem. So, and their investors will love it because mobile is hot.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that no one's going to use computers in the future and that it's all going to be phones, which is nonsense because nobody's editing a spreadsheet on their phone, but not in any real way. But still, it feels evolved. I understand why they made it. It integrates their ecosystem, so it makes sense. It makes less sense for iPhone users, but for Android, which is still the bigger market, it makes a lot
Sure.
of sense.
Well, there you go. So yeah, if you have a need to do multi-track recording on your phone, especially if you're an Android user, and you want to lock yourself into the Roland ecosystem, then this is the thing for you.
I noticed that the TR editor didn't make the cut for the show. Are we going to talk about it next time, or do you want me to?
I thought I put that in there, didn't I? I did not. You're absolutely right. There's actually 2 things that didn't make it in there that we should probably discuss. One is the TR editor. So I don't know if you got a chance to play with that, Justin?
I did. I own an 8S, and I actually do like it. And I do find that I had the 8 first, and I love the UI. It's funny. It's become like a modern classic, I guess, now, mostly because it really is one per function WYSIWYG. And I get that that's cool. Right. But to me, the 8S gave PCM and a lot of other cool stuff. And also you got all the kits. And anyway, long story short, I checked it out today because I'm also a cloud user. And it's pretty badass. It's kind of the missing link for this thing. And its integration is pretty cool. It's kind of sad in a way that they didn't really think the UI out enough, but this is very Roland, right? That you would even need this, I guess. But if you use this all the time, and I don't, but if I used it as my main drum machine, I would not want to do it without this software. So thank you, I guess, Roland.
Nice.
That's sweet. I'm glad. No, it looks like it, from what I understand, a lot of folks that do have TR8Ss have been taking a look at this and really like the idea of what they put in there and everything like that. So good job, Roland. Thank you for doing that. The other thing that I didn't make the news is, and this is like something I generally don't jump into, like Euro rack and modular stuff, just because there's so much of that stuff that's kind of crazy. But one thing I saw was that Kilpatrick Audio is no longer going to be making the Phenol, which is a kind of standalone banana jack based modular synthesizer that they put out, kind of like an all-in-one, not semi-modular, it's a full modular, so you actually have to run patch cables through it. This thing is a lot of fun to play with. I have one. They're about like $600. I'll grab it real quick because it's small. So
I used to love looking at this thing. Isn't this the one that you did the generative stuff with the first time? This thing looks great. It's fantastic.
So this is the Kilpatrick Phenol. It's a beautiful chunk of metal. It's my favorite thing that Kilpatrick has put out. I don't think they've been able to top themselves since then, and I'm sad that they are not going to be making this thing anymore. So it is 2 oscillators, 2 envelopes, an LFO, low pass and band pass filters, an adder divider, has MIDI to CV, has this weird little sequencer in it that's like kind of a pain in the ass. It has a very gross sounding digital delay that's just a lovable thing. And it's all banana jack based, which makes it completely a pain in the ass to use with your Euro rack, but it is possible because it does use the same voltage and everything like that. And it has stereo out because the delay is stereo. And it's built like a little tank. It's all metal and everything like that. And it's just like this small little dude manufacturer from Canada, the mystical land up north. And
not like Game of Thrones, more like
yeah, more like poutine
and
socialized medicine.
stuff.
Yeah. Apologies. But But yeah, it's a fun piece of gear, and I saw on his Instagram that they're making the last batch of them, and then he's gonna stop making them, which is unfortunate because this thing is a lot of fun. So yeah, that's the other piece of news that didn't make the cut. Is Kilpatrick Audio. So if you are in the market for a modular, if you want to learn modular, this thing is great for that because everything is on there that you need to get started in modular land and understanding synthesis and everything like that. But yeah, it's a great little piece of kit, and I'm sad to see it go.
You could buy one now, and it'd be like buying Bitcoin at $3 a Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's true because it'll just go up.
Because this will, it's a beloved enough device that the price will go up.
Yeah.
After they go away, like the machine drum or something.
Yep. Or the Tempest. No, the Tempest wasn't much loved. I fucking hated the Tempest.
Yeah.
That Synthpunk's synth that didn't make the list for this week, right?
The which one?
The steampunk synth.
It did not.
Okay.
Just because I was thinking about putting it on there, and I'm like, it's not really too newsy. It's just like a user mod kind of fun thing.
Sure.
I think we have some news from Spectrasonics.
We do indeed. Last bit of news for the evening. Spectrasonics has released a thing called Sonic Extensions for Omnisphere. And this is a paid add-on kind of thing. And it is... how do I explain this thing? So it's like sound content, and it's got...
and changes in interface. It's kind of like when they make instruments that are based on Native Instruments Contact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it comes with like different functionality. Like some of the Contact mods have like their own little sequencers or triggers or their effects chains. So this is like an add-on Rompler with different interfaces for Omnisphere.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a different interfacing, a bunch of new sounds that are kind of like sound packs and suites and stuff like that for Omnisphere. And there's 4 of them available right now. Oh shit, Womber just redeemed Resonate. Wow, there you go. And then read to me. I'm actually reading the article to you right now, Womber, so that counts. So thanks for the redemption. You just wasted those coins. So yeah, the different set like sound like Omnisphere, for folks that don't know it, is, to me, this is gonna sound like kind of dumb, but it's kind of like it's like the analog rhythm is to me. This is like the last soft synth you really need.
It is the king of digital.
Yeah,
alarms.
if you want beautiful digital sample sounds that just sound so gigantic on an engine that sounds beautiful with effects that are phenomenal, and being able to plug in any of your synths into this thing and control it, this is the piece of gear for you. It's made by the same. This is
Gary Newman's favorite
if you
synth.
want to, listen to the last couple of Gary Newman albums, and it's all over that. It's designed by the guy who helped do a lot of the sound design for the D50. To give you an idea of what we're talking about sound wise, and
which is
exactly.
big Rompler.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Parker, is that his name? Something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, but the downside is that each of these sound packs are $150. So you better figure out what you want to use.
So they
and Omnisphere is not cheap. It's an expensive piece of software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get so much. I mean, I remember watching. I don't have it. You have it, Andrew. But I remember watching. I was like, we're just never going to run out of stuff.
I think
it's going to go on forever. Like
5,000 patches in that thing.
It's got the money. Gary Newman has posted about times where he finds.
Oh yeah, I found the Gary Newman patches.
It sounds not just the ones he uses, so he'll post about it because even he has not gotten through it all because it's so many patches.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I will say that I tried I was like the demo or the try thing for it that I got for this has been a long time at this point, but I got it and it didn't jive with me too much. It felt like if you really liked the presets in it, it felt like it was really good. And if you didn't really like the presets, it didn't feel as good.
Yeah, it's not for me either. But I understand who it's for, and I understand why they love it, and I can't debate its quality. But
Yeah,
for me,
it sounds really good.
It's gigabytes of
it
canned
is.
sounds.
But sometimes if I'm working on a track and I want something that's like, I need a vocal, choir that sounds like, children, then I can just open up an Omnisphere session and find that really quick, and then I can fuck with it from there.
Yeah. Like, whatever that sound is, they've probably got a preset that's close to what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And if you've got deadlines, this will help you make that deadline. And it'll be high quality. It doesn't have the exploration that I'm looking for in Synths, but I also don't work in professional productions. I don't have to get a commercial done by 7.
This is definitely a thing that's really good for folks that are doing like soundtrack production and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. And it will sound professional. Right up instantly without a lot of processing because it's very good.
Yeah. And like I said, I use it a lot if I'm just like, I need something that sounds like this, and I don't want to sit there and, try to program a bunch of this kind of shit. I don't want to sit there and program choirs. I don't want to sit there and program. If I need something that sounds like a real non-synthesis instrument, I will turn to Omnisphere. And I'll find it.
Yeah, that's because. Yeah. Otherwise, you got to find libraries, and they're not that good, and they're overpriced, and you just want the one sound. So here you are, a ton of sounds in that library. Yeah, it goes on sale once in a while, I think, but it's an expensive soft synth. But people are quite devoted.
I'm a big fan of it. It shows up all over my music that I'm working on. A lot, because I tend to like I like things like very dramatic strings and stuff like that, and that thing has strings so dramatic even I sit there and be like, okay, calm down. That kind of thing. But it's just to me it's great. So yeah, looks interesting. Like I said, they have these little packs. They definitely feel kind of like I said, each of the packs are $150, so make sure to preview them and see what you want first. There's Undercurrent, Nylon Sky, Unclean Machine, and Seismic Shock. Woo! So those all sound fun. I would probably go for like the Undercurrent would be good, and possibly the Seismic Shock one, because heavy modern electronic sounds like me. I'm modern. I'm heavy. I'm electronic. Anyway.
And if you work in a house, make your boss pay for it.
Or if you own a small record label that is also a studio, write it off. As they say. Anyway, that's all the news I got. I think we lost Justin. I think he just passed out. Oh, no, there he is.
No, sorry. I had to do some foot maintenance.
Between your own knees, please. Thank you.
Airplane.
Nice.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. How about anybody else? Anybody? Any news? Any special announcements? If you're in the New York City area, go see Christoph Saturday night at Stimulate.
And if you're stuck at home tomorrow, come see me at Spike Club at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Womber says the tangent line is one of the 3 keys to billiards, apparently. I'm glad that we are enjoyed my good game of pool. Justin, you and I need to figure out a date where we can get together and talk about your new album.
Oh,
so
sure.
We'll do a live broadcast of that in the coming weeks, hopefully. And yeah, Jeff, you got anything else? Jeff's already ready for bed. He's like, fuck off.
No. Things are just chill here. I'm trying to write some music. That's about it. I don't know. Now that everything's set up, I have no excuses. I have to use it.
You got to make all the money from you spent on those Jasper stands.
Yeah, if I live to be 6,500 years old, I might get close. Yeah. Might get close.
That's why it's a hobby, right?
Uh,
We love what we do. Yep, and we
That's
love
what
coming
they
to you
say.
guys every 2 weeks to give you the latest of gear news that's at maximum 2 weeks old. It's true.
And
it's the
sometimes less than that. The Roland
Yeah,
news was newer
Like,
than that.
and the Omnisphere stuff came out just today. So there you go. Up to the minute.
That's right.
That's our motto. Up to
Up
something.
to some minute.
All right, Wambra, have fun being a trigonometric ninja, like modular, make people feel like Euclidean mathematicians. Yeah, dude, do that. Sweet. Let's find somebody to raid over to. Bard's still on. She's been on since before we started. Man, she's a machine.
wow.
Let's go bounce over to her. So everybody, enjoy the awesome tunes of the Graceful Bard. Yes.
I highly recommend this. Definitely tune in, watch.
Absolutely.
What she does is amazing.
Come and tune in for Christoph tomorrow night for Spike Club. And we'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. Have a good one.
Good night, friends.
Ciao.
Apparently I just told it to host. Damn it. Yeah, I typed that.
Oh, instead of
All right,
raid.
there we go. Now we're getting ready to go. Hey, just teasing. I know what I'm doing.
Bye again, friends.